Don't pull out that Christmas tree yet. Put it back up. It's too early. Get up. Get up and put some respect on Thanksgiving.
Good morning, Sweet World, and welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Wednesday, November 13th, 2024. I'm J.E. Skeets here in the Classic Factory, and alongside me, as always, Tass Mellis.
Podcast listeners, this is for you.
Over yonder, making the magic happen, super producer JD.
Hello.
There he is, and joining us from an undisclosed hotel room in San Francisco, it's the bearded one, my top shot hot boy, Trey Kirby.
Heyo.
Hey, oh, look at this guy looking mad casual here. Early morning West Coast time. What's going on,
Those are like pickle legs.
Yeah, people went crazy when I was showing them off last week, so I thought I'd give them a little San Francisco treat while I'm out here in the Bay. Look, man, this hotel room is not necessarily a podcast recording studio, but we're making it happen. I was rearranging the furniture this morning just so we could get a beautiful view of the rolling hills of San Francisco.
Yes, the podcast listeners will want to check this out. A gorgeous view behind Trey Kirby. What floor are you on there, TK? Where they got you?
29.
Oh,
I'm way up.
All right, look, we have Trey on here this morning to obviously talk about Klay Thompson's return to take on the Golden State Warriors. An emotional, competitive game between the Mavs and the Warriors there in the Chase Center. Now, Steph Curry, he sort of spoiled Klay Thompson's homecoming there with 12 consecutive points at the end. We'll get into the game, but Trey, you were there all day. Need to hear your firsthand account of like the festivities, like leading up to the game and talking to all the players, and then of course all the hats. I'm a little sad you don't have on a captain hat, I gotta be honest, but like talk us through the whole day and obviously how they celebrated Klay Thompson's return.
Skeets, you said festivities, and that's exactly right. It was literally a festive atmosphere for Klay Thompson returning to the Warriors. I was spending the evening and like this morning thinking about return games and revenge games and, you know, legendary dynasties breaking up and then the next game after that. And it was really hard to think of anything that was similar to what the Warriors were able to pull off with Klay Thompson returning last night. I'm like, when Scottie Pippen left the Bulls, they had basically dissolved. He didn't even play against the Bulls when he was there at Houston. So then it was the next year, Jordan was gone. Not the same. When Tony Parker went to the Hornets at the end of his career, came back to play against the Spurs, not the same. You know, kind of the only thing that were similar in my mind were Kevin Durant leaving the Thunder, going back there. This was the complete opposite of that. Or maybe Shaquille O'Neal going back to play against the Lakers on Christmas Day, like in 2004 or whatever it was, after they won three titles in LA. This was such a jolly atmosphere. Warriors fans were excited to be able to celebrate Klay Thompson, and the Warriors team, the Warriors organization, went the next mile with all the hats and all of the tribute video and just making Klay feel welcomed and loved. It was obviously an adversarial relationship between Steph, Klay, and Draymond once we got into the game. But it was just such an emotional, fun atmosphere for it to be a game in the middle of November. You can't imagine more juice. It was just incredible to see the way that everybody was celebrating Klay, and you know, he was trying to play it cool throughout the entire day. Almost felt like he was avoiding the media at times because he didn't want to get involved in the story. This is just as any other game. Clearly, you could tell when he came in and the Warriors had 400 or so of their employees in their captain's hats saluting him. When they did the video tribute, you could just tell it got to him, and suddenly just another game was not just another game. And then it played out the way it did. Incredible 5-star masterpiece of a game.
Yeah, for it to spill like all of that love and support for Klay and the crowd behind him and all the hats. So many hats. We've never seen so many people wear hats at the same time. For that to then spill into the first play of the game, Trey, where Steph Curry is guarding Klay Thompson, and like a lot of times those two matched up on each other, and for both to have like pretty good games. You know, Klay had stretches where he, you know, was hitting the side of the backboard and air ball here or there, but overall 6 threes, and then Steph to do what he did, and for Klay then after the game to be like, oh God, it was sort of weird to be on the other side of a Curry flurry. Like it was, I can't believe the game itself lived up to the hype of the return, if that makes sense.
You're exactly right. I couldn't either. And I mean, I guess, feeling like Steph Curry with the way the first play played out. He said, I didn't expect that. I literally blacked out. Draymond was calling for a bump switch so that he'd be able to stick Klay down in the post, but he said he heard him, but I didn't hear him. So suddenly there was just a foul right away. And like, I don't know. I was caught up in the emotional aspect of the game to the fact that I wasn't thinking about the X's and O's. It only made sense that Steph Curry would be guarding Klay Thompson, and then for them to come out, post up Klay, that was crazy. You know, Steph then hits a three in his face, points right at his face. Later on, Draymond gets Klay in the post, strips him down low, but it was so cool. You know, Steph obviously had the big moment at the end of the game, but Draymond was incredible in this game. Like, for as much as Steph Curry took over down the stretch on the offensive end, Draymond was doing the exact same to Daniel Gafford on the defensive end. Like you said, Klay had his moments as well, especially in the fourth quarter. I thought when he scored, I think 8 straight, he had 3 straight jumpers to put the Mavs up. They were getting fired up, and it was so weird because there was that moment in the fourth quarter. In the second quarter, when Klay did his shimmy, he had a couple of threes then. Those were like 2 moments where it was like Klay Thompson's hitting some back-breaking threes here in Chase Center, and Warriors fans were like, we can't quite boo him, but we're not happy to see him making these shots. That was like some of the funniest, like, Klay interacting with the fans moments. I saw it as like, you know, they had seen that for 13 seasons. And now it's on the other side. So I'm sure Warriors fans were feeling a type of way when Klay was hitting those shots. But man, the way Curry came through in the end, this guy's just the best show in sports.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, you know, they're called the Splash Brothers. They're not called the Splash Twins, right? Brothers to me says one's older than the other. And so I love that Steph, again, sort of got the last laugh on maybe whatever, the younger Splash brother there in Klay with just how he took over. I'm with you, TK. I thought the Mavs were winning this game. I got to be honest. Like, Klay was hitting some huge, timely buckets, and they were up 7 or so, and it was getting late in a hurry. But you're just never out of it with Curry and with Draymond making those defensive stops. Like you said, I'm glad you showed that some love. He stuffed the stat sheet. 11 points for Draymond, 7 boards, 6 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks in 31 minutes. He was a plus 18 in the game. That huge block on Gafford there with 2 minutes to go. That was a bit of a game changer, a momentum changing play there. You know, he drew the charge as well. And there was another one where Gafford sort of fumbled the ball out. Rough stretch there for Gafford after not being able to miss a shot. But it was just great. There's a reason why they're a dynasty, you know, when it was the Splash Bros and Draymond Green. It's like the competitiveness from these guys. I love that it bled into this game. Love, support, hugs. That's my brother, but it's like you still want to kick your brother's ass at the end of the day. That's the best part.
The neat part was that this was a big game for Draymond Green.
Yes,
I mean, they were into it. Like, the guy that they won championships with was on the other side, and this brought another level to Trey and Steph Curry, obviously, at the end. It just felt like this thing was over for the Mavs. And then Steph pulls it out and pulls the go to sleep again.
The night-night celebration.
Yeah. It seems like it's happening more than it did earlier in his career, obviously. I mean, we had the Olympics. Now we've had 2 already this season. It's not too much for me, though. I think I'm okay
Trey
with
Kirby, is he overdoing the night-night celebration, or is he playing it perfectly?
Well, right now he's literally playing it perfectly. He mentioned post-game, he's like, I'm still undefeated with the night-night, even though Quentin Grimes hit that big 3 in his face. Made it a little questionable for sure, but, you know, the Warriors were able to get stops. That guy was celebrating like crazy on that made 3. It definitely felt like the France game all over again. He hits the night-night, then he's popping his jersey. Yep. He's yelling into the camera. Yeah. I don't know if this was shown on the broadcast because I think they cut away after, you know, he was yelling whatever he was. I've seen the lip readings. All of them seem incorrect to me. And Steph wouldn't cop to what he was actually saying afterwards. But even after that moment, he went back to the huddle for a little bit. But the environment was too hyped, so he just did another lap, holding up his jersey, showing the Golden State. I thought it was incredible. You mentioned Skeets. It really felt like they were brothers out there that were finally split up and got a chance to play against each other. Draymond brought it as if it were a Game 7, and he was actually out there on the court. It was incredible. The guy can elevate his game, and he made all those plays on Gafford. I was feeling terrible for that dude. From 3 minutes to 2 minutes, somehow the ball just kept finding him underneath the hoop, and Draymond got a turnover off him in 3 different ways. Yeah. It was not ideal for the Mavs, but It was so cool. And Skeets, when we're playing pickup ball, you're the number one guy I want to beat when we're on opposite teams. You don't always feel that in the NBA because these guys are such buddies off the court. They're seeing game after game after game, but this one clearly had something extra to it, and it was awesome to see that kind of competition in the NBA in November.
Yep, it's the people you love that you want to beat the most, at least when it comes to basketball. It's like honestly true. I thought the same thing, TK. I was like, that's like you and me going at it, getting really into it, because you just don't want your best friend, your buddy to beat you, and no matter the setting. And these guys are professional athletes. They're on a whole other level when it comes to being psychotic, competitive people. So yeah, it lived up to the hype. You also had like a good Luka game in the mix here too. I know it took one of those weird questionable Luka threes again late. Like the Mavs have dropped 3 in a row here, 1 possession games against really good teams that could have all gone their way, but ultimately were all losses. But like, he played a good game overall. Like people they raised the bar here. I don't know if it was the Klay return or was it the NBA Cup floor.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting part. Yes, the Warriors finished this off. Wiggins guarding Luka looked great. Yep. D'Anthony Melton looked great on the floor with Steph and Draymond, who picked it up. Yeah, post this Warriors dynasty, like Trey mentioned off the top, Pippen leaving the Bulls, Parker leaving the Spurs. You don't see post-peak dynasty to have this type of one guy leaves and come back to have such a great rivalry like that. You just don't see it. This great game. So maybe it is the NBA Cup. Maybe it is this floor, which I want to get Trey's opinion on, because we're all looking at the 30 new floors online, and then we're like, okay, let's see them.
See them in action.
So, I thought the Warriors one was pretty good from here, but it's another different step to be in person. How was it in person, Trey?
If you don't want people complaining about your NBA Cup court, make it gray.
Yeah.
It just looks like a normal court, honestly. Like, it looks like there's obviously a lot going on these courts. I was talking with Ash when we were just like breaking down what's going on the court. If you look at where they do the jump ball at half court, they've got the circle from the design of the court. They've got the circle from Victor Solomon. They've got the NBA Cup trophy. And then on top of that, they've got a W. And then on top of that, they've got another W. So there's still a lot going on with regards to the court, but it's a lot more coherent when it's just gray. Like the Nets have a gray court regularly. It's not a big deal for them. And then obviously I'm seeing the tweets from all the other games that are going on throughout the day. The Celtics with their wild green court, the blue ones in Philadelphia, things like that. If you want to do an alternate court that kind of just feels like an alternate court rather than something that's extreme, gray's the way to go.
Yeah. We will get into specifically those blue courts a little bit later on the podcast here. I have some opinions on those ones. But, I said this off the top. I slipped it in. Why don't you have a Captain Klay Thomas hat? I mean, were these just for the fans, or do you have one in your bag? It's already ready to go and come back to Atlanta? What do you got?
These hats were too hard to get, Skeets.
Wow.
I mean, they gave out literally thousands of them. I think the number was probably like 15,000, right? The arena holds like 20,000 when you factor in the employees and stuff who definitely had the hats, but I haven't seen this many hats since we used to go to the boat to do yacht rocks. Every single person in the arena was wearing their hats. I saw people that came in wearing like their own, Warriors hat with that hat and then the captain's hat thrown on top of it. I was watching the game just thinking, I don't know how easy it is to do like a gimmick hat giveaway. This was kind of perfect that you've got a guy known for riding a boat that wore a captain's hat to a championship parade. That doesn't come around all that often. But if you can find a way to give away hats that aren't just a standard baseball cap, it looks incredible. Like it was 100% buy-in, it felt like, from the fans wearing these captain's hats. And that's why people weren't going to give them up. I did ask my seatmate next to me, hey, can I please hold your captain's hat to take a meager photo? Luckily, he blessed me and then put it right back on his head.
Yeah, we always make fun of teams and how they just give too much back to their players. Like sometimes a guy goes there for 2 years and then there's a video tribute, that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's all been done. It felt like, until you see all the employees here at Chase Center greet Klay coming in wearing boat hats.
Yeah, and saluting them to him. Was my favorite part. Both the organization and the fans. Everybody saluting their sailor caps.
Yeah, just to do it. Klay couldn't help but get emotionally involved. Like Trey said off the top, he tried to keep it cool, but he couldn't. You see all those people as you come in, and then the tribute as you're on the floor, he couldn't help but get involved, even though he's the coolest dude and he keeps his emotions away from the floor. The way that they did it extremely well. Other than not giving Trey a hat, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But the Yacht Rock Review, the band who like plays on boat, they're playing in Atlanta soon. I just saw it. You just inspired me, Trey, to go see them again. I mean, they kill it.
Well, if you want to buy one of these Captain Klay hats, they're on eBay right now for like $300.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. People are selling them for a pretty penny right now. I'm sure that will go down. Give it some time, and maybe you can get your hands on one. Any other thoughts, TK, from obviously a really entertaining game and like a unique game, because this really was an unprecedented celebration for a former player who left the franchise. And, you know, dollars came into play here. But anything else we're missing or anything from the arena itself?
I just thought it was super impressive what the Warriors did, going out of their way to like put the last couple of years of Klay Thompson's career with the Warriors behind them, because obviously there has been drama in that locker room the past couple of years. First, it was the Jordan Poole year. Then last year, it was Klay's contract and what was going to happen with him hanging over the franchise. It would have been easy for this to go poorly. I think we've seen that in the past with players choosing to leave a team they've been with for a long time and coming back. But the Warriors and the organization clearly did not want that to be the case. They wanted Klay to come in and feel like he was still at home, part of the team. And there was definitely that feeling. And the other note I had, Tass, I'm glad you mentioned it, man. I couldn't help but thinking of you, seeing D'Anthony Melton out there. I was like, man, Tass must be loving this. D'Anthony Melton is showing up here, taking Kyrie Irving out of the game from time to time. Kyrie was pretty sweet in the fourth quarter. But yeah, I was like, you know, Klay, Steph, Draymond, the big stories. But I know Tass was feeling D'Anthony Melton last night. He was all over the place. Felt a little bad for him post-game. He was basically just being asked about what it was like seeing Klay Thompson versus Steph Curry, even though D'Anthony Melton was not a Warrior prior to this year. But he's like, I watched him. You know, like, I remember those guys too. But it was just a special night and kind of a one-of-a-kind sort of thing. Klay's a different kind of guy. You know, you guys say he keeps his emotions away. I think kind of the opposite, actually. I think he's a super emotional guy and tries to keep them hidden and sometimes struggles, which is why he was like, I'm not doing media until after the game. Right. He didn't speak with reporters prior, right? He's trying to play it down like this is just another game, even though guys like Kyrie Irving are saying, like, we know this isn't just another game. He just won't admit it, basically, right now. And I think that was kind of a worry coming in. People are like, Klay Thompson, he's either going to go 20 for 20 or 4 for 20. Yeah. And, you know, it started at times looking like it could be going the other way when he was forcing it into some weird twos that were a problem when he was there at the Warriors at the end. But the way he came through in the fourth quarter, hit 3 shots, only to be upstaged by his splash brother, Steph Curry. Special times.
Yeah, it was so close for him to get the W. Yeah, it was. He had 6 big threes, and I know a lot of the highlights are lowlights. Essentially, people to think, oh, he hit the side of the backboard. He didn't win. He did enough and more to almost get the win against his old team, hitting those threes.
Oh yeah, and if you were a Warriors fan going to the Chase Center last night, like, could it have gone any more perfect when you think about it? Like, you have like this cool tribute. You got the hats, the video. I know Steph Curry, I guess, was reportedly going to talk to the crowd after that video tribute before the start of the game. They decided against that.
Yeah, but good move. Good move. Not having him address. Why should he?
Yeah, I agree.
I don't get it.
I agree. They basically did it perfect, and then you get a very entertaining game, and then you're like, oh crap, we might lose, but you have your, you know, superstar franchise guy in Steph Curry who's still there. Bring your team back, score the final 12, and get the victory. I mean, like, that's like perfect.
Yeah, and against a team that went to the finals last year, they are looking, along with D'Anthony Melton and along with Andrew Wiggins, looking like 22 Wiggins who helped them to the finals, along with the new Draymond Green who hasn't got suspended yet. Like, they look like a team that could easily be a championship team.
Oh, of course. And we could see these two teams, before we let you go, Trey, we could, I mean, maybe we're all hoping after that game last night, we could see these two teams play in a playoff matchup. That's not unrealistic to see maybe Warriors-Mavericks in one of the rounds.
Can you imagine the Warriors having to face Game 6 Klay, whether it be in Chase Center or in Dallas? That would be too delicious. But you could tell Klay after the game was itching for another chance at the Warriors. He mentioned so many times, he's like, we play the Dubs 3 more times. It's going to get less weird, and hopefully we're able to pull off a win. Because honestly, like, neither team played great last night. Like, the Warriors could not make a free throw. The 3-point shooting percentages were not great until it really mattered.
Yep.
You could tell there was nerves in the arena. So I think it'll get less weird, like Steph and Klay were saying, every time they play. But if they were to meet in the playoffs, that would be a blessing.
It would be amazing. All right, buddy. Well, we're going to let you go. We know you got to pack up there and catch a flight back to Atlanta. So I guess we're going to see you on we'll see you on Friday's Drop podcast, if I have that correct. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm going to likely be off tomorrow because we don't land until late. But who knows? If there's live TV on the airplane, maybe I can get some Wednesday night basketball action, and we'll see.
Okay, you never know. What a tease. You might see Trey Kirby on tomorrow's show. If not, you'll see him on the Drop podcast. Looking forward to some more social content coming from you and Esh. And, yeah, what a game. What a game to send TK and Esh, too. That worked out perfectly. Thanks for jumping on, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you guys.
See you, man.
All right, later, Trey. Okay, let's get in to the old scale of 1 to 10. This is something we did earlier in the year because we got a lot more to talk about when it comes to the NBA Cup and some of the upsets, the Cupsets. We obviously have Joel Embiid. So I just want to start with the courts because we talked a little bit about the Warriors, pretty generic, or at least playing it safe, somewhat of a great court there. We had new balls. Did you see those?
Oh, sure,
yeah,
of
new
course.
designs on the balls. Obviously, we got the new sponsor name. Again, the new court designs. I want to know on a scale of 1 to 10, Tass, how would you rate, specifically the courts, but maybe the overall presentation of night 1 of the NBA Cup? 1 being extremely low, 10 being extremely high. Where are you going?
Yeah, let's stay with the courts because as for the advertising and the promotion of the NBA Cup and how they've simply put it all together, it's improved drastically from year 2 after year 1. There were some it just bumps in the road last year. Now it's a lot better. But as far as the courts go, because this is a drastic change, they went from runways, it looked like airplane runways down the middle, to these sometimes way too loud courts, to the ones that we were just mentioning with Trey, which are far more, almost beige, gray, these colors that are
muted.
It's far more muted, and it's far more palatable. So it's like there's two extremes here. The blue ones, the Sixers or the Bucks or the Celtics, green, way too loud. Those ones are just way too loud. Even Derek White was asked about it as he came off the court in the second quarter. He was asked, how do you like the court? He goes, they're good. Take some getting used to. That's not a good Derek White impression, but I mean that's basically what he's saying. They're not that good. They're too loud. Though the ones specifically Sixers, Bucks, Pistons blue and the Celtics green, way too loud. But the Magic court, it's like gray and beige, and then it's such a less bold color. It just works better with all the other things that are on there, like the NBA Cup. Midcourt and in both lanes. The gray beige just works way better. So I like those. I like the Warrior ones, the Jazz one as well. Yeah. And then the rose colored of the Rose Garden with the shapes of the roses in Portland specifically. That's different. I mean,
I like that one.
Yeah, I like that one. So there's good ones. There are good ones, which are far more neutral ones, which we talked about even leading up. Like the Nuggets one's going to be good too because it just makes way more sense to have. Yeah, a little contrast rather than that. Boom! What are these courts? Everybody who's a casual was literally looking at these courts and saying, what are those for? They're too loud. Off the top, they're way too loud when it comes to the Celtics, those greens and blue ones, but the other ones are good. So, it sounds
6. Like you're in the middle. Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Because some of them were good and some of them were not.
It's all about
8 games last night.
Yeah, there's 8 games last night, and it was about a 50% good and 50% not. But it feels like, I haven't gone and done the numbers, but it feels like there's more drastic, loud colors
coming.
Yeah. then there are these sort of more muted, more neutral colors, which are good, I think.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I actually hated watching any of the action on those blue courts and the Celtics green with obviously the Tetris pieces, the parquet they're doing there, the design. It's just too much.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good. I'm sorry, it just doesn't look good. And yeah, the blue, Philly, Detroit, and I guess Milwaukee. All similar blues, very bright, just too much blue. That's the thing. It's just too much that it is not. It's not appealing to watch. No. It's not kind on the eyes. So the other ones, as maybe as boring as they might be, they're just better. I think, like the other ones that you just talked about.
Oh yeah.
So
they are.
Yeah, I'm with you. Last night, at least, new cup court designs. I'm a 5.
Yeah,
I'm right in the middle.
And sometimes it can get even too loud. with the designs. Like the Photoshop layers are just way too high. Like the layers of that W that's on the Warriors court. Do you really even need that? I mean, those ones, I say that before I say it, like those, that doesn't really stand out when you watch it. Like that W that's on there. So it's not a big deal. The more important part is just that color. Like, do these guys enjoy running up and down a green floor or a blue floor?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It literally looks like it's glowing on the TV. It does look like way too much. There's no doubt about that. But then some of these other ones are... Yeah, I wonder what the players feel. And I know, like, when Derek White was interviewed, he had to play the NBA card and say, yeah, they're good. But he didn't. When he was talking to Abby Chin, Abby Chin knew that he didn't like it. Derek White knew.
Do you think a player's going to object to playing on one of these NBA Cup cards?
Dude,
not going out there. You know how I feel about blue.
Man, they're so loud, running up and down the floor. I guess it doesn't bother them as much as the eyes do on TV.
Yeah, because you're looking at the entire thing the whole time. Yeah, maybe it's different.
Yeah.
Let's hear from you guys. Are they better than last year's? Worse? At least what we've seen so far. We're going to get a whole lot more on Friday night when we get to night 2 of the NBA Cup in-season tournament. All right, next one here. Let's get to this. Making his season debut, Philadelphia 76ers center Joel Embiid scored 13 points in a 111-99 loss to the Knicks last night. Embiid played just over 26 minutes. He finished 2-11 from the field, 3 boards, 5 assists. Scale of 1 to 10. How are you grading Embiid's season debut?
Probably a 2.
Sounds about right.
He looks bad. So you can go both ways as a fan. You can think, well, come on, he hasn't played in a while. He just needs to get his legs under him. That is the past of Joel Embiid's career. That's the way he is after he takes a while to come back. Or you could be on the other side and say, well, he's done. He ain't right. This is sort of the end of his career, which we've seen with other bigs before. I tend to lead the former. I mean, why would he be drastically done in his career?
This guy's not 40 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, he's, 30?
Yeah, he's still in his prime.
Yeah.
But you can say, as a negative person, you can say he only played half the season last year. His knees are a lot older than his mind is and his body is. So there's that. There's that. You can think he's just too old and he's done. That being said, I mean, yes, the shots look bad. He was just flat. Everything, he didn't look like he wanted to run up and down the floor. There was one time where he was guarding Jalen Brunson at the 3-point line, and he was able to chase him down all the way to the rim, close to the rim, and Jalen Brunson had to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to stop and bump you and get the foul. Key move, smart move. So that looked like Joel Embiid, who scares everybody on the defensive end. Just for a second. It didn't happen very often.
No.
Karl Anthony Towns blocked Joel Embiid's jumper from mid-range. Like, that was a beautiful that was a beautiful block.
You don't see that often.
From Cat? No.
No, not from Cat, and even Embiid. Just being a monster, shooting it pretty high.
Yeah.
That's rare. I thought that too. Like, whoa, he really doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think anybody was surprised.
No.
I mean, it's not great if you're a Sixers fan seeing your franchise center, who you just gave a huge extension to, max money, obviously not start the season and then get the weird suspension, and then in his first game, I was going to say begging to be asked out, but definitely like, take me out. Mm-hmm. I'm tired. Mm-hmm. That, like, in 5 minutes, it just, it all goes to whether you believe someone like Stan Van Gundy when he's on the call say, there is just no way to get in NBA game shape but play in NBA games. You just can't do it. Some people may roll their eyes at that. Some people say, really? You can't do other things to keep your cardio up and to say, stay in some better shape? That's up to you to decide whether you believe Van Gundy or not. I think there's some truth to it for sure, that game speed and all that. You just can't replicate it in any sort of practice or probably anything else you do. But it was bad. I'm with you on the 1 or 2 here on the scale. Like, it couldn't have gone much worse.
No.
Because he scored once in the paint?
Yeah.
Once. He was getting fronted by Bridges.
And then that one he scored in the paint, it was flat-footed. Just, I could just easily just put this off the glass and in.
He fronted Bridges. They got it into him. Brunson helped, who's like my height. And Embiid, he was like, oh, geez, okay, these guys are much smaller than me. Maybe I'll just put this one in. But otherwise, it was settling. It was like floating defensively. He was not engaged really at all. He just looked like a giant man who was out of shape.
Yeah. And the difference is this season with the Sixers, previous seasons with Embiid, is that it started right at the beginning of the season where he was sitting out on purpose to hopefully be healthy for the playoffs. And that is a positive sign, as bad as it looks now. for Sixers fans, he wants to be good for the playoffs. He wants to win a championship. He doesn't care about winning an MVP anymore. He's done that. But he has played through injury after injury after injury with this team, and he just wanted to be good for the playoffs. So that's why it looks different. Like,
problem is you have to make the playoffs.
Yeah, good thing they're in the Eastern Conference, and that shouldn't be a problem. But yes, they're not up in the standings, sitting at 14th out of 15 teams, sitting at 2-8, right. And they're not going to play him in back-to-backs. He's not playing tonight. Paul George.
Is that confirmed? He's not playing tonight?
It's not, but I don't think so. But he said prior to the season, I'm not playing in back-to-backs.
I know.
Same with Paul George, and that's the scary part. Both of those guys. I mean, Daryl Morey said it in September before Paul George got injured. He said we have to look at both these guys and how much they play this season. He didn't say both those guys. He said other guys than Embiid, and he must have been meaning Paul George because Stan Van said it on the broadcast that Joel Embiid has played more games in the last 5 seasons than Paul George. I said, what? How is that possible? And it is totally true. We've talked about Paul George's injuries in the past, and it is true. He missed a playoff run with the Clippers. So that's the scary part. I think beyond the Embiid part, this guy is going to play through everything. He played through Bell's palsy last year. He played through every injury. But the scary part is 7 playoffs that he's played in, 5 he's missed games in, and the other ones he's, like last year, played through injury where he hasn't looked 100%. So I'm not so scared about him looking, bad. 20% of himself here early. But combine that with Paul George, you could be a little bit more concerned that you gave Paul George 4 years of money that the Clippers weren't willing to do for a reason. And Joel Embiid's paying him until he's, I guess it's 34 or so. It's a little scary. Sure.
And you're going to need to, of course, start winning some games. There is that part. You're lucky you are in the East and you're like 2 games out of a playoff spot, despite being 2-8. But then the other part is of course, building some chemistry between your 3 superstars. I mean, Embiid, Paul George, and then Tyrese Maxey, who didn't play last night. And, they're going to, you don't want to do sort of what the Suns happened with them last year. And, you're building no sort of basketball chemistry between your superstar players. Like when I'm talking, Beal, Durant, Booker, only playing, whatever it was. It wasn't enough, it turned out, to, really build the chemistry. So that's the issue, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least Paul George had a good game for Sixers fans. Jared McCain had another really good game as the rook off the bench. He looked solid. You wonder if he'll be inserted into the starting lineup. It's a possible. To sort of replicate Tyrese Maxey. He plays a lot more like Maxey than Kyle Lowry plays in terms of the way he goes about scoring and his speed and his size and stuff like that. Maybe that's something Nurse tries here.
He's been awesome.
Embiid, this is you just wonder how long will it take for Embiid to look like the MVP like Embiid, the monster Embiid.
Yeah.
Is it going to take a couple games, going to take a couple weeks?
Right.
What is it?
But when he was out there at times, because he is such a magnet and he draws so much of the attention of the defense, he was creating good plays. Even if he was going to the free throw line, he wasn't scoring. The shot is extremely flat. But
everything was hitting the front of the rim.
Right,
There was no arc on those shots.
So, but he's still, unless you think he's a big Shaq at the end of his career.
Right.
He's not, how could he possibly?
That's what Bill Simmons was debating with Kirk Goldsberry and Jacoby this morning. If you had to say what Shaq version is Embiid right now,
right,
where do you go? And the debate was is he still obviously sort of in his prime and he'll get there like Shaq, or is he more like Miami Heat Shaq, where it's every once in a while and had to play himself into shape, or is it getting to Phoenix Suns Shaq, where it's you start to go, because of his size and that it's he's not a max player anymore. Yeah, it's he played 1 game, he played 25 minutes. We're gonna give it a little bit more time, but not a great start.
Yeah.
Anything on the Knicks, though? It was a quality win here. I know they're playing sort of a depleted Sixers team, but any thoughts on them?
Yeah, I like the effort.
Yeah.
The fight when Jalen Brunson went out after turning his ankle, everybody was willing to participate beside him. We saw Jared McCain be the number 1 guy off the bench for the 76ers, which could be great for them. And I want to speak about the guy off the bench for the Knicks. Deuce McBride was awesome.
Yeah, he was good.
He was so good. And so they have a lot of weapons if Deuce McBride can help their lack of depth, because that was sort of the scary part. But this Knicks team, in the same way, we haven't got a good feel for them until Mitchell Robinson comes back in the new year, where you've got this monster beside Karl Anthony Towns who can defer a bunch of shots. I know it's really not sexy and people aren't talking about the defense of the New York Knicks, but that's the important part for this New York Knicks team. Once he gets back, how good they'll look. But yeah, they still are not themselves, and they need every player in their depth, and they need a guy like Mitchell Robinson who's damn good at being a defensive center.
To me, though, that felt like the most Knicksy win. Of their young season, and they're 5-5, and they're not panicking. And honestly, Karl-Anthony Towns has played really well for a guy who's slotted into this team. But like that, you had guys like. I mean, this was a close game for a majority of the game, and then sort of in the fourth quarter, the Knicks took over, where it was like OG and obviously Brunson and Cat. Like it was promising. I was like, okay, yeah. Then you start to understand, like, oh yeah, maybe they can get some of that mojo back from last year's Knicks teams, and you start to see the vision there. So I thought it was a quality at least second half there from the Knicks, or that fourth quarter, 33-24. Let's keep it moving here. We got to talk about the ending of last night's Heat-Pistons game, and I will set this up for everybody that maybe missed it. Started with Tyler Hero hitting 3 3-pointers in the last 82 seconds of regulation to come back from down 9 to force overtime. The Pistons had this game. It was over. Tyler Hero said, no, we're going to OT. Then in overtime, Hero hits a jumper to put Miami up 121-119. There's 1.8 seconds left. So after a timeout, advance the ball to half court, Cade Cunningham hits Jalen Duren with a beauty alley-oop off of the inbounds pass. Great play there from Bickerstaff and the Pistons. Spo then calls timeout right away. Not much time left, right? You're going to want to advance the ball, get a shot up. One problem. The Heat were out of timeouts. That's a technical. That's a free throw for Beasley, who's like a 90% free throw shooter. He hits it. And with those type of technicals, you also get the ball. So the Pistons got the ball, and it was basically game over. I think Beasley hit another free throw to ice it. On a scale of 1 to 10, Tess, how batshit crazy was that Heat-Pistons overtime cup game?
Well, it's easily a 10. It's under the radar because of the other games. Not everybody noticing this one. And listen, even the greats like Eric Spoelstra flub, and that was just a flub. Yeah. It was just a mistake on his part. Also, Nikola Jovic of the Miami Heat broke his nose in this game.
God, that was gross.
Yes.
And Tim Hardaway Jr. had to get wheelchaired off this game.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Serious injury, too.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of bad things. Yeah. Looked like Malik Beasley he broke Jovic's nose and came through there.
It's a lot of nose to break, too.
Yes, as we've talked about before. That was unfortunate. He was yelling. He was screaming. Yeah. So, a wild ending. Kind of looked like Tyler Hero was saving the day for Miami there at the end of the fourth quarter. Yeah. That was
He had
amazing.
A 40-burger last night, Tyler Hero. He was hitting every shot imaginable down the stretch. And then, like you said, Spoelstra, did you see his comments after the game? He was like, he took, no one to blame but himself. Yeah, he's like, he even said, we talked about it in the timeout prior. I knew there was no timeouts. Just caught up in the moment, the intensity of the game, and just probably just reflexes, right? Damn, we just gave up a backdoor lob, tie game, timeout. And it's like, oh, crap. Do we have any of those? No, we don't. And what made it even wilder was Jalen Rose was in attendance. Shout out to the director, producers, whoever was, broadcasting this game to get Jalen Rose's reaction because holy Chris Webber PTSD. It just amazing. It was took this brain fart from Spoelstra not having a timeout that he called to the next level. That Jalen Rose is in person there and obviously involved in that Webber game back in college. Yeah. Nuts.
And a great moment.
What a reaction.
That the producer would say, that guy, camera 4, get Jalen Rose on. It was
Go to Rose!
Yeah, it felt like a movie it felt like Michigan was coming back there for a second. But Tyler Hero needs his back against the wall, I guess. We saw a great Tyler Hero. Like we talked about, maybe sometimes it's just a moment where you feels like your back is against the wall. He could be one of those guys. It's fourth quarter, Tyler Hero. It's actually the first quarter, but it's the fourth quarter. We need you, man. But he looked like an absolutely different player. And the peak Tyler Hero that we all thought could happen after the 2020 finals, it feels long ago, and Tyler Hero has not become the player that we all expected him to be. So that he looked like one of the top 5-6 players when he was just balling out there for a while.
He tied the Heat's franchise record for most three-pointers made in a game with 10 last night. Shares the mark with Brian Shaw, Mario Chalmers, Duncan Robinson, And then Hero did it himself back in 2022. So 10 is the Heat record, and that's what Hero got to. I mean, he went nuts in the fourth quarter. And oh my God, this was one of those ones where it's like, especially Cade Cunningham, who had a really bad couple minutes down the stretch where they were giving this away, and Tobias Harris too. It was like, oh, what are you doing, Detroit? But they usually lose these games, and they came out with the victory in the end. Again, nice play call there to get Duran the dunk, and nice pass from Cade. And then they got gifted this one from Spo. They got gifted the Beasley free throw, and obviously to keep the ball, which I didn't know. Our guy John Hollinger said, because a lot of people were confused by that. Like, what the technical foul? The Heat don't get the ball at least. It was like implemented in like 1976. It's like the Paul Westphal rule, where he figured out, well, I could call a timeout that we don't have, and maybe then, play the game where we at least get the ball. Like, yeah, you'll shoot the technical, but we get the ball. So they had to change it because it was sort of a loophole, which is really fascinating, like way back in the 70s. So that is why the Pistons got the ball and then obviously got to the line again. Crazy ending. Yeah, you have to put that one at the 10 on the batshit crazy scale because it was nuts. All right, related question, I guess. This is not on the scale, but what was the most surprising result from last night's NBA Cup play? Was it that one? Was it the Pistons, who have more wins than the Heat, so maybe not? Or was it another game that you were like, whoa, I can't believe that team beat that team?
Well, obviously, the Hawks beating the Boston Celtics in Boston is sort of
with no Trey Young or Bogdanovich,
yeah,
or DeAndre Hunter.
Definitely. Like, watching all of these 8 games, I was into it. And I speak badly about these bold courts, but I was definitely into it. Again, I think the NBA has done a good job of just getting more people into the NBA Cup, making November/December games a little bit more involved. Because I was watching the Orlando Magic, and I was watching Franz Wagner, the German, pulling off his German's idol moves of the Dirk step back a couple times. He looked real good without Paolo Banchero. His shots were landing so easily. 23 in the first half, 32 overall. It was getting Paolo Banchero off the bench and cheering and being excited. And watch Paolo Banchero be interviewed by the Orlando Magic broadcast team. And they gave him a cake because it was his birthday. He was 22. And Paolo Banchero said, oh, that's love. That's love, getting a cake on his birthday. And so I say all that.
That's birthdays.
Yeah, that's birthdays. But he felt good about it. Yeah.
Good.
I mean, it was just a regular cake, too. Right. It wasn't like...
They didn't write anything on it?
It looked like there's something written. Oh. Yeah. Well, Paolo spoke about this team. I just bring up the Magic because everybody thinks, oh, they're done. Paolo Banchero's out for a long time. They lost every single game on that road trip with Paolo Banchero down, but they've gone home and they've won 3 straight.
They've kicked the snot out of teams. They've played some bad teams. But
they play bad teams.
Dominated them.
Yeah, the Charlotte and Wizards.
Yeah.
And so it's not a big win to look at them beating the Charlotte Hornets. That being said, they're at 6-6, and now what are they, 3rd? I think they're 3rd in the Eastern Conference because they're 6-6, and so they have played an inspired ball since coming home. But the Hawks beating the Celtics, that was bonkers because it did feel like the Celtics were coming away with this game in the third quarter because they're up double digits.
Yeah.
They were 16-point favorites before this game, and the Atlanta Hawks come out and beat them because they just were working a little bit harder. It was the flashbacks of March when the Celtics beat the Atlanta Hawks. The other way around. The Atlanta Hawks beat the Boston Celtics just past March twice because they wanted it a little bit more. And in this one, the Hawks took 25 more shots because they got 20 offensive rebounds.
Damn.
They took 100 shots in this game. Flashbacks to Sam Mitchell, old coach, saying, more shots. We need to shoot 100 shots. That was the goal. We need to speed it up.
And the game-winning shot was an offensive rebound.
Yeah. Onyeka Okongwu, who got blocked last week by Cade Cunningham to lose a game to the Detroit Pistons, was able to win it. So that was it was fun in the way that they came back. Dyson Daniels was amazing again because I mentioned that they took 25 more shots, so they kept getting offensive rebounds after offensive rebounds, but they're also turning over the Boston Celtics. Dyson Daniels on Jason Tatum was really good. 6 steals for this guy, the guy who leads the league in steals and deflections per game. 3.5 steals and 7.5 deflections per game. Dyson Daniels is really good as a defensive end. Yeah. He is awesome. And he was playing Jason Tatum, who came back after stepping on Giannis's foot in the last game. So he probably didn't look 100%. But all that to say, this is just one game, just like those 2 games in March were, when DeJounte Murray scored 44 points on 44 shots. But they were working hard. And that this, without Trey, to see Jalen Johnson with the triple-double and Dyson Daniels and even Reece Shea didn't have a great shooting game. Those three guys are the future of this team, especially defensively. So that was great. And then Grady Dick was great too, although he didn't have a good shooting night in the end. But yeah, that magical shot. He's coming around the perimeter, slow the pace, and then gets to the baseline to do that side shot. He had 32 points in that game where the Bucks finally got a W.
Yeah. Charles Barkley won't say Grady Dick's name. Did you see that clip going around?
No.
He refuses to say it. Pretty
He
funny.
just won't say Grady Dick?
No, he doesn't want to say Dick. Shaq was loving it. Yeah, I have the Hawks beating the Celtics the way they did it with no Trey especially. But Daniels career high 28 points. Jalen Johnson another triple-double. He's going to rack up a lot more of those over his career. And Okongwu with that tip-in off of Daniels' miss. I mean, if Okongwu didn't tip it in, I think Larry Nance Jr. was maybe going to tip it in. Or there was another Hawks in that play too. I felt bad for Jaylen Brown. He was like trying to block out 3 Hawks players that were crashing the glass there. And then, well, both teams traded basically turnovers, and Jaylen Brown had a chance at the buzzer, but he missed. But Dyson Daniels, 23 steals over his last 4 games. I was in the stat head last night. I'm like, that's a hell of a lot of steals over a 4-game span.
Yeah.
Not many other players have ever done more than 24 steals over a 4-game span. It's like Elvin Robertson did it a couple times. Kendall Gill. I think Doc Rivers had a stretch. I may be missing another name. Oh, Robert Covington did too back in his Philly days. But
I was not expecting a Robert Covington
Sir
mention.
Robert Covington himself. But Dyson Daniels, man, the human vacuum.
No, he is amazing.
Gobbling up those steals right now.
Defensively, yeah.
So the Hawks would maybe be my pick because I did watch a lot of that one. But the Blazers.
Yeah, of course.
Beating the Wolves is pretty damn surprising. Blazers entered the game as the second worst three-point shooting team in the NBA. They shot 18 for 32 from deep in a win over the Wolves. That was, whoa. Was that just a weird night where the opposition, in the Wolves case, just couldn't miss from 3? I mean, that's 56% from deep. It's going to be tough to lose a game when you shoot that many at that clip. But, this is a cup game. That's a shocking one. And maybe, definitely hurts the chances for the Wolves to advance. Like, they're going to have to win outright and probably take care of those opposition teams, like the other teams in point differential. So that was surprising.
Yeah, the Wolves and Celtics now are unlikely going to make the next round.
Right.
It definitely hurts. But it was cool to see the Blazers and starting different guys. Like Avdia came off the bench and Scoot came off the bench to kill him. They were so good. It was just some pretty plays. Like Denny Avdia to be able to cross over and hit that end of third quarter shot, and the Scoot shot underneath the hoop. The scoop underneath. That was pretty. And he was doing the yelling to the camera. It wasn't quite Steph Curry yelling to the camera, but he was yelling at the camera. So yes, obviously that was a fantastic ending there. It just felt like there's some fake things happening in the NBA yesterday. I mean, there wasn't, but to see like Larry Nance now leads the league in 3-point percentage. He's shooting 73 3-point percent. 73.
Larry Nance is leading the league in 3-point percentage?
Yeah,
I mean, he probably hasn't taken enough.
He hasn't taken a ton. Yeah. But I saw the guy coming into last night leading the league in 3-point percentage was the Bucks, AJ Green.
Yeah, okay.
Who comes off the bench.
All he does is shoot threes.
That's all. Literally, that's all he does.
Has he even taken a 2-point shot?
So that was first start of the game season last night. Bucks are saying, all right, let's try something new here. Coming in, he had 38 shots. All threes. He was shooting 60% from 3, leading the league. But he had a cold one yesterday. He was 4 of 14, but all threes. So he's taking 52 shots, and he hasn't taken a 2-point shot. They're all threes. But he's dropped in 3-point percentage below Larry Nance now. Yeah. So I was just like, must have taken a 2-point shot. Like somebody ran him off the 3-point line.
Get a rebound or something and shoot it back up.
But he's taking 50. So I had to check all these stats. Nope.
Amazing.
And the Portland one on that Rose court. Did you like the court?
I liked that court. Yeah. I did. I mean, because I liked it because it wasn't all red.
Absolutely.
Red accents, the floral rose like insert or whatever you want to say. I liked that. I liked it. I mean, that was a nice one in my opinion. And it was nice to see Time Lord have a monster game.
Oh, he looked like a different
Robert
player.
Williams III?
Yeah.
That's a guy that's still in this league. I know he always gets injured, but 9 of 10 last night, 19 points, 9 boards, 3 steals, 3 blocks off the bench. the whole bench for the Blazers was amazing. It's nice to see Shaedon Sharp like finding his rhythm and legs a little bit. He missed the start of the season. I think he's played the last 3 or 4. Thought he had a pretty good game. So
yeah. These lots of games like the Celtics, Hawks, they just kind of get swept under the rug a little bit. I complained about the NBA app yesterday. They probably aren't even on the roulette. No, but also the Blazers Wolves one. I mean, the Tumani Kamara, who was at the same school, went to college here at Georgia with Anthony Edwards, and they were talking smack, a ton of it in this game.
Right.
Tumani Kamara, we don't talk about him a lot, but he had a great game in this one, in hitting shots right in Anthony Edwards' face, hitting 4 threes. But as you said, like it was a special night for those dudes to be hitting 3 after 3 after 3. And Delano Banton off the bench, he was awesome in this game too.
Yeah, he even played in the first half. Yeah, first quarter, I guess.
He used to be the closer. Only last week he was just the guy who played fourth quarters, but now he was out there just hitting like. When we used to watch him in the Toronto Raptors days, he would just take over a little too much. Things would go through him a little too much. But in this game, he could do it. He was taking, I think it was a 30-footer. Bang. Like he was comfortable doing it. He looks like a new guy. So I don't know about these Blazers, but
they're inspired by that floor for sure last night. Got the easy victory. It was 122-108 in the end over the Wolves.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the scale here, though. The Pelicans suffered another injury blow to their season. They lost guard Jose Alvarado for 6 weeks due to a hamstring strain.
Yikes.
Suffered this in Monday's loss to the Nets. Let me give you the quick inventory here of the New Orleans injury shelf. DeJounte Murray broke his hand on opening night. He isn't expected to be back until maybe late November. Zion Williamson is out indefinitely with a hamstring injury. CJ McCollum is out with an adductor strain. Herb Jones is out with a mild rotator cuff tear. Jordan Hawkins is out with a back strain. And now Jose Alvarado for a month and a half with a hamstring strain as well. On a scale of 1 to 10, how depressing has this Pelican season been?
Most depressed being a 10, I assume. Yeah. 9.99999, as close as you can possibly get. Yeah, because there are some
There's some
moments.
Guys that haven't got injured yet?
There are some all right moments as well so far, but basically, like as you go through the inventory, November's just shot, really.
Yeah. They're 3-8, I think, at this point.
Yeah, and then add in another 10 games to get you to around 20 that they would have played if they were healthy through November. So you got another 60 games, I guess, to get things right, because some of those guys you mentioned will be coming back around then. Mm-hmm. And so if it was in the East, I'd say, yeah, not a problem.
Right.
They could come back.
Little different in the West.
That's not how it works. They don't seed teams 1 through 16. Doesn't matter what conference you play in. You have to be part of those top 10. And when you're talking top 10 right now, like if you were to go through them, the ones that are actually in it, Suns, OKC, Golden State, Denver, Houston, Memphis, those are the 2 I guess you could see falling. Lakers, Clippers, Wolves, Kings, those are the top 10. Mavs are below it. Right. So it's a little too scary for them, I think, to even say that they're going to come back. I mean, it's going to be a tough schedule for 60 games without Alvarado too. Their depth is just gone.
Okay, so then the question is, with Brandon Ingram on an expiring deal,
right,
probably wanting some sort of max contract next season. Doesn't feel like the Pelicans want to be that team to give it to them. They did probably try and trade him during the offseason, had no suitors. Like, do you just do the old, we'll take pennies on the dollar type of deal for Ingram and look to move him even more aggressively? I know, like, it's maybe nice to have him because you got a healthy guy that at least plays, but, like, at the same time, I guess what I'm getting at, are you looking at the season almost as a complete wash, and maybe you move Ingram, again, you get a pick or something or a young prospect. I don't think it's going to be a ton. I think it's going to be similar to the Siakam deal. That's sort of what I think. So it's not going to be good. That wasn't all that good. But do you do it and you're just like, this is a weird season. This is a wash. This is sort of what the Grizzlies went through last year. There were some different circumstances with John Morant being suspended, but everybody got injured. And it was like, okay, it's just one of those years. Mm-hmm. What do you think the Pelicans should or will do?
I think they will trade him.
Yeah.
I think David Griffin gets looked at and gets ridiculed and takes the, oh, you could have got way more a year ago, that kind of.
Yes.
Unfortunately, will be what people are saying. That being said, you just got to take it. You just got to take what you can get at this point.
Anything.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to be signing there, you think?
Yeah, well, it would be difficult to sign him with what's going on with Zion. Zion doesn't look right, unfortunately. It's very unfortunate, and it's a hamstring injury. It just feels like we thought that this would be the year. I did. That because he looked extremely healthy, that he put a lot of work into the offseason. But, yeah, you would probably just say, all right, sunk cost, goodbye Brandon Ingram, and hope that you can get Zion, DeJounte, and the rest of their players back to themselves again, and then you have a way better roster.
And they have a lot of draft capital, and who knows what comes back in any sort of potential Ingram move. And then it's not like you have to be done. In terms of packaging young guys and picks for another player to come available on the market.
Yeah,
but it's depressing. I'm with you. I mean, you got it at a 9.9. Yeah, I guess that's right. A 9, you can't maybe go all the way 10.
Yeah, I can't.
But it's so, and it's like this happens year after year after year. That's the other part. It feels like, and I know they had when they all play, they're good. They seem like a lock for a 50-win team. But it's just like, what is going on with the medical staff there? Or I'm convinced there's someone in New Orleans with voodoo dolls cursing this team, because it doesn't seem right that every year it feels like for 3 years running, they can never have their entire team together. They can't play all at the same time. Mm-hmm. Someone from their core has to be injured, somewhat significantly too, to miss months or something like that at a time. So it just sucks. Alvarado, the latest one there, out of their lineup. Final one here. The nation's largest owner of regional sports networks will now offer single game pricing for games. Okay, Diamond Sports Group, which has the rights to 13 NBA teams, announced Tuesday that the option will be available on its direct-to-consumer streaming package. It'll cost $6.99 a game, Tass. That's what it's going to put you back. In-market games only for those teams. On a scale of $1 to $10, how much would you pay to stream a single NBA game?
I would pay $10.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes, I would.
No, you wouldn't.
It's $10. You go to a movie. A movie costs $20. Everything costs way more than $10. Everything costs. You want to buy a drink? It ain't $5. Everything costs $10. So I would say immediately, yes, I would gladly pay $6.99
for one game.
Well, yeah, because it's just one. It's one thing. It's gone. It's not a subscription. It's just one. Yes,
I know. I get that part, but that's way too high. That's way too high. No. I want to see the metrics. Who the hell's doing this? First off, they do have monthly packages. If you're going to be a fan of your team, you should probably look at the monthly, yearly subscriptions to these streaming, right? It's more than $6.99, of course, but it's you're getting, how many games do you get in a month from your team? I don't know, 15 games, something like that. So it's more bang for your buck. But I just want to know how many people, and I'm talking you can do this on the NBA League Pass app. I believe you used to be able to. I don't know if you still can.
I don't think you can anymore.
They got rid of it because nobody was doing it. Nobody.
Why would you get rid of it if you? They would rather have League Pass paid for.
They
or whatever.
Do you know anyone that's ever paid for a single game? Is my question here.
I have no friends, so I don't know.
I don't think anyone's ever done it.
Oh, come on.
I don't, because it should be 99 cents. It should be $1. Not. I mean, then maybe you might be like, wow, I want to see Klay Thompson's return to take on Golden State. But then again, you can't even watch that one because that's going to be on TNT. Yeah. So all the marquee games you're basically are going to have on the national networks anyway. I don't know. $6.99. I couldn't believe it.
I think that's fine.
Oh my God!
People are paying way more for things,
and so it doesn't make it right.
Well, people don't have a TV package anymore. So they say, okay, instead of spending $100 a month on a TV package or a YouTube TV package, I'll just pay for one game. It's $10. People it's so splintered. The game's changed. We'll buy dumb game little add-ons for, I'm not speaking about NBA games, but some dumb game that you're playing online. What was the game you played? Bike Baron. Let's say,
Bike Baron. Dude, that's a decade plus ago.
Yeah, whatever. Any of those types of games.
Damn, I missed that Bike Baron, though. That's a great game.
Would you pay $6.99 for Bike Baron?
No, but I probably paid. Did I even pay?
I think it was $1.
It was $1.99, maybe.
Anything.
Yeah,
whatever.
And gave me countless hours of entertainment. Okay, I'm gonna get you told me these games are getting faster and faster. $6.99. I'm gonna get a 2-hour and 5-minute Hawks game. or Clippers game.
All I'm saying is that
game.
people are spending money in different places in different ways. I was speaking specifically. I was speaking specifically about like a Fortnite. You add on this dumb add-on.
Yeah, microtransactions.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
so well then do this. 50 cents to watch the first quarter. Do you want to continue to keep watching this game? That'll be $1.50.
Okay.
This game's close.
Turning into the peep show model.
Exactly. We got a close one coming down the stretch here.
Not bad.
You throw another dollar
Insert
in the machine.
coin.
Exactly.
Yeah. Not bad. Not bad.
Well, okay. These stations are now known as FanDuel Sports Network, right? After FanDuel took over for the naming rights.
I know.
All right. Then let's do this, FanDuel. Let's make a bet. If this game's turns into a 20-point blowout, I don't got to pay. If it's entertaining, okay, you get my $6.99. You want to place the bet, FanDuel? They probably would. They'd be like, that'd be great. Let's do it. I don't know. This seems like way too much to me. And I just don't know anyone doing it. So it's sort of almost weird why they even have it, I guess.
Yeah, it's because you don't know people who are going to pay for one game. You just know people
They don't exist. I'm convinced they don't exist.
They do. They do for sure.
They've probably made, $18 off this or whatever, $21. Three people did it by accident.
There's some fan in every state. There's people in every state in this glorious country of the United States of America that aren't big basketball fans that need to watch 82 games. They're just like one game.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
That's where I disagree. But you tell us, at least on the scale of $1 to $10. Tess wants to go higher than 10. It sounds like.
Yeah, I'm glad to pay
$100.
Depends on the state where you're in, but I think people will pay $7. It is interesting. We should see the numbers of when the NBA used to do it on their own app. It was $6.99.
Was it the exact same price?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I do remember that being an option. Again, didn't know anyone that ever did it, but you said they got rid of it, and I think you're right.
I think they did,
because I don't see it marketed anymore. So, all right. Well, the 13 NBA teams that you can do this for, by the way: Hawks, Heat, Cavs, Thunder, Pacers, Pistons, Wolves, Hornets, Magic, Bucks, Grizzlies, Spurs, and Clippers. If you're in one of those markets, I guess, would you pay $6.99 to watch your team? All right. Let's get to our Pick'em game tonight. Lots of games on. I want to say there's 11 games on tonight. Yes. A few on ESPN. Pelicans, Thunder. Whoops.
Yeah, it's
flexing
unfortunate.
out the Pelicans already, unfortunately. And Grizzlies, Lakers. That's at 10. Those are 2 games on ESPN. But what's our game, Tess?
Yeah, some really good ones that I was contemplating. We get a Cavs Sixers. Who knows who's playing for the Sixers, but the Cavs trying to get to 13-0. Pacers Magic. That's a goodie.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by that one.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. But I went with one that I was a little surprised that the line was this big for the Rockets at home to the Clippers. Houston is minus 4.5 favorites, so they got to win by 5 or more against the Los Angeles Clippers. And then I was even more surprised that 3 of us do believe that the Rockets will win by 5 or more, while Esh, who's leading the way with a 5-1 record, I messed up his record on the graphic on the board yesterday.
Right.
But he's taking the Clippers to lose by 4 or less, or obviously win the game.
Well, we sort of mandated that he had to take the Clippers. I'm not even sure he's awake yet on the West Coast. But after we all took the Rockets, I feel like it's only right that he's got to take the Clips.
Yeah, nobody likes
We're not putting
running the board.
4 logos of the same team up there. What's the point?
Yeah.
It almost feels right to me. I know it's an unofficial pick'em rule, but like there is something to, especially if you're leading. It's like if everybody else is agreeing on the game, like one side, it feels right that like again you're in the lead, that you're almost like mandated to pick the other team. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's my opinion.
And the reason why this game got picked, where it sure felt like all 4 people were going to pick the Rockets, was because the line is fairly small.
Yeah.
Even though I say it's an interesting night, there aren't a lot of close lines other than Pacers Magic, and I didn't pick that one.
What about Suns Kings? What's that line at?
Yeah,
That's
it's
the late
also
game.
it's so juicy because of Kevin Durant's injury.
Yeah,
you'd think. So it's 7.5. Kings are favored by 7.5 at home.
Whoa.
So that's why I stayed away from that. That was initially thinking that one for sure.
Well, I mean, I'll make the case for Esh being forced to take the Clippers. I don't think they've lost on the road.
I thought they liked playing in the Intuit Dome.
Well, they couldn't. I don't think they've lost on the road. You can fact check me on that. But they've been good away from the Wall and the Dome and the Shitters and the Bombers and all that. So
they're a team that plays together. No, they've lost.
Oh.
3-1, but they've lost.
Oh, that must have been a recent loss. I think they started 3-0. Okay. Well, we will see. Rockets got to win by 5 or more for some of us to get that victory. Otherwise, Clips will cover and Esh will get another victory. That's it for us. Thanks to TK for jumping on. That was a lot of fun, getting the scenes from the Chase Center and a really entertaining Curry versus Klay game. Thanks to you for joining us live on YouTube. Do yourself a favor, hit the like button. That like button's for you, not for us. That's for you. Subscribe, share the show. Podcast listeners, 5-star ratings and reviews. We are back tomorrow to recap all these games. If you got a good question, send it in. NoDunks@theathletic.com. Tweet it in @NoDunksInc. Maybe we'll hit the beach tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. Wow,
that's
this week
correct.
is flying by. We got Survivor on tonight too.
Yeah.
So we'll have No Buffs tomorrow as well. So anyway, we'll see you then, Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, the Yacht Rock Review, great band, playing December 14th in Atlanta. To circle it all the way back to Trey wearing the captain's hat, or you wish he was wearing the captain's hat, and to talk about also the ticket prices. You mentioned subscription prices for one game.
Would you pay $6.99 to go see Yacht Rock Review?
Yeah. How much do you think the Yacht Rock Review is charging?
That's a pricey ticket. It's probably $39, $40.
You think that's pricey?
For a Yacht Rock Review, a little bit.
Yeah, okay,
they're
you're right.
They're good. Haven't seen them in a long time.
Well, you're not going because it costs $40 plus fees.
I said $39.99.
I know. Well, it's more expensive than you want. Yeah, you hit it bang on, but once you pay the fees, I mean, it's like,
Yeah, I'm not going. I'm saving that penny, man. All right, embrace the day, people.